All right, let's start with a brief introduction to what Comfy actually is. And under the hood, you're going to find that Comfy is actually a really powerful backend with a beautiful front end. And what does that mean? Well, it means that Comfy is both an artist first open source AI generation tool that is all based on a node graph and a canvas, giving you access to every model, parameter, all of it, right? There's no black boxes here. But what this actually on that's just it on the surface, because underneath it is this powerful AI generation engine that's a tool, and you can build new front ends to this. These JSON applications, which is essentially what a workflow is, can be used in a variety of different ways to make, photo booths, for example, all the way to doing feature film type work. So that's really what Comfy is, and I want that in your minds as we're diving into this, because it's that production grade backend. It's giving you access to Flux, Stable Diffusion, all the latest video models, all the different controls, like control nets, all in one graph that gives you these direct visual controls along every single step. So Comfy breaks you out of that AI slot machine and starts really making it possible for you to gain control in a variety of ways, both to create visuals directly in the node graph, but again, you can build whole applications around Comfy and execute Comfy workflows on a back end. So under the hood, that's really what it is. And that's part of the reason why I'm so excited about Comfy. And it's this visual programming for artists. That's what I want you to kind of think about when you're looking at the node graph. That is what you're seeing. You're seeing a series of nodes that are all connected in a specific way to execute a specific task. And I'm going to show you a variety of templates that you have access to in the sidebar. There's a whole library of them. They're pretty great. And we're going to explore those to demonstrate the different applications of using Comfy. Part of the frustration that a lot of people have when they're first starting with AI is they're expecting that when they can just tweak one thing, they can just go in and just modify one tiny things, just like we have been doing in CG for a very very long time. But when you're working with AI, it's actually much more like working in film, where you have your actor and you've got the script and you've got all of the things that you want to have happen in your scene. And you're going to take a variety of takes. And sometimes they're going to nail it. The actor's going to get it exactly how you wanted it. Other times, we're going to have to take another take. So when you're working with AI, that's always how I think about it as well. It's just that it's not going to get it every single time, but run a whole bunch of batch generations. And one of those is going to give you what you want for that take. So when you think of AI, think film. It's a whole new type of workflow for CG, but it feels more basic. It feels more like we're getting back to the filmic approach, which is really really cool. And above all, what Comfy is, right? It's an amplifier. It doesn't replace artists. AI does not replace artists. It amplifies them. And, the best work always still comes from a human deciding what's worth making. It's that taste that comes from an artistic eye. And if you don't have that taste, well, that's how you get AI slop. And Comfy is kind of slop agnostic. You can make slop. You can do that if you want, but you can if you come at it from an artist mentality. Art Comfy also gives you control over that generation. So this is all about kind of giving you an overview and tool sets to take what you are imagining as an artist, and Comfy is going to allow you to execute it. So bring your own taste, direction, judgment. Good art is knowing when to stop. So that's where the human aspect comes into this. And that's where you're going to find the most leverage, is that original creative idea. It's Comfy is not a make art button. Every node, every parameter in there, all of the different knobs, those are all under your control. So this is going to be again a through line through this whole course. It's kind of the thesis of it that Comfy allows you to do really anything that you want as an artist. So really, you got to bring your artistry to it to get the best results, and that's the role you're going to play throughout this course as the artist working in the graph. All right. And before we jump into Comfy for Real, now the introductions are out of the way. This is where the first module is going to start. So we're going to be exploring foundations here, how Comfy, really how AI works and what Comfy's role in. And we're going to try to strip away all of the intimidation because Comfy can give you a little bit of anxiety when you see these really complicated node graphs with all the spaghetti and everything. Well, I'm going to try to give you a mental model for how Comfy really works, how you can organize it under the hood, and and I'm going to try to break down all of the core nodes throughout the process, so you don't feel like it's just a whole bunch of random tools. And I'm going to show you some different ways that the system is structured to help you with that along the way throughout the whole rest of this course. So, where to run it? How let's boot up Comfy, right? You have two different options here. Comfy Cloud, which is going to be the default for this course. Comfy Cloud is great because you can share workflows really easily with just a URL. You don't have to worry about all the different models or nodes that you have to install if there's a custom application or anything. Really, every workflow is really just a click away, and every model is hosted and slightly fine tuned to work really well for you. So it really strips out that frustration that a lot of artists can start feeling when they start with Comfy, because there's nothing to install. You just open it up. Now, this is obviously a trade off because now you don't have access to all of the really cool custom nodes and frontier models that aren't very tested, but they are very cool. And all of that is available in the open source Comfy community, but cloud is your stable environment to work in. So this is where we're going to start because I want your journey in Comfy to be comfortable. So that's where we're going to go. But later, when we start talking about production paths and things like that, well, that's where Comfy Desktop comes in. This is a local app that runs on your own GPU. Gives you access to really anything you want, custom nodes. That's a really powerful open source library. That's the amazing thing about Comfy is the open source community constantly developing for it. For now, we're going to stay in Comfy Cloud, but Comfy Desktop is really where if you're doing production work and you want local storage, you're going to run this on your box, and that's where Comfy Cloud comes in. Now, this is Comfy Cloud. Let's boot it up and let's give you a little UI tour over all this. So when you first open it up, you're going to have a unsaved workflow. This is just the default here. This is a very standard node graph where we have our checkpoint being loaded. We have our clip text encoder for the positive, our clip text encoder for the negative. We've got our empty latent image here. Think of this like your canvas, the image resolution that you're going to be generating. And then all this gets pumped into the case sampler. This is the melting pot. This is where everything comes to be mixed together and give you some additional controls over your seed, how many steps you want to run, what's your CFG. Don't worry about all of this. If you have any questions about what these knobs mean, well, this is really great because you can just, as you see here, hover right over it. And like a CFG is a classifier-free guidance, scale, balance, creativity, adherence to the prompt. So what does that mean? Well, it means higher values result in images that more closely match the prompt, but you can get overbaked results with too high values. So it's about finding what that magic number is. And every model has a magic CFG value. You won't have to really experiment with that too much to get it to work because, again, I'm going to show you, you have access to tons of templates that are already vetted and ready to go. So you can just jump right in. But if you want to explore even more and really understand what all these little knobs are, we'll do that as well. But again, don't get too overwhelmed with this stuff right now. Uh, this will all make sense a little bit later. But this is about playing and getting familiar. Then it goes through a VAE decode and then our save image. VAE decode is basically just taking the output of the case sampler is going to be in a different space than the RGB image, and the VAE decode, well, it decodes it and it brings it down into a resolved image, and then it outputs it right here. So let's go ahead and do that, because the other thing to do when you're working in the node graph is how to execute different branches. And this right here is how you do that. You can, if you hit this master run right up here, well, it's going to run all of the different outputs here. You could have a bunch of different workflows like this, all running in one workflow. But when you hit run, it runs all of them. So if you want to just execute one, well, you click here and you click play. Now, while this is generating, let's also talk about how to navigate around all of this, right? So, wow, that was fast. Look how fast Comfy Cloud is. So what I'm doing here is I'm using my middle mouse to pan around. I'm using my scroll wheel to zoom in and out. If I want to select one node right here, like we just saw our save image, well, I just click it. If I want to click more, I'm going to hold down Control, and I'm going to click as well. This also works if you hold down Control and drag and select. Well, you can drag and select a whole bunch of nodes and then click on any, and you will move around. And if you want to resize any nodes, as you just saw here, we'll just go in the corner and you're going to resize it. Bigger, smaller, whatever you like. And let's also talk about framing. So if you click, sometimes these graphs can get very, very large. So when you click here, well, if you go down to the bottom, you're going to see a Fit View button, and you can access this either with the period key on your keyboard, or you can click this button, and it's going to zoom you right to this. What was our prompt? It was a beautiful scenery, nature glass bottle landscape, purple galaxy bottle. And that's what the model did. So this is a, I'm not sure what checkpoint this is. Looks like a stable diffusion early checkpoint. If you click on any one of these low checkpoint models, well, you're going to see that we have access to tons and tons and tons of models. Again, each one of these are all vetted. They're fine-tuned for Comfy Cloud. So just kind of pick them and play around with them. Some workflows will have different VAEs, different clips. So this one checkpoint gives you all of it in one. Just make sure that if you have separate clips or VAEs, you're going to want to make sure that it's all based on that base model. So if you're using Stable Diffusion 1.5 like here, well, make sure your clip and VAE are also based on Stable Diffusion v1.5. It's all about just matching versions. So now that we've gone over that, let's also explore things in the sidebar. So over here, you're going to have a variety of different things. Right at the top, if we click Assets, well, you're going to see all of your generations here, including our latest one will be stored. If you hit the three dots, you have a few different options. We can open it up with the inspect. Looks beautiful. If we click it again, you could insert this node in the workflow. So this means, do you want to push this image into your workflows? Click that, and there you go. Loads it right in. Let's delete that. You can download this, or you can open as workflow in a new tab. And what's really cool about Comfy is that all of your generations, all your image generations, at least right now, they actually store the source JSON file, the workflow that you've been using to generate that image. So if you want to, if you want to have go in and tweak it, if you find one that you really like, if your friend sends you an image, say, hey, this was really cool, and if it's straight out of Comfy, well, it's going to have all that JSON metadata inside there, which is really, really neat. And you can open it as a workflow in a brand new tab, as we've just done right here successfully. So the exact same thing. The other thing we have over here is nodes. And what's really cool about these is this gives you access to all all of the nodes that you could possibly want. You have a nice search button up here, some different filter options. We'll go through all of this. But one thing I wanted to show you too is if we, let's, like you'll see I have one of my favorite nodes, node packs really, is get nodes. And you can actually bookmark your favorite ones, and they'll always be viewable right up here. And how do we do that? Well, let's do a load image node. And once you find your node, well, if you want to bookmark it, because I'm going to use load image a lot. So you want to have it nice and stayed right off to the side. What's really cool too is if you double click inside of your node graph, well, this opens up your search function, which you can search for all these nodes as well. And if you go over to favorites, well, now you can see all of the ones that we have bookmarked. So you don't have to search for them. They're all right there. So we're going to be adding, think of these as like your building blocks that you're going to use very, very, very often. You want to have them very nice and sourced. So now that we're in the search bar, let's talk a little bit more about it. One of the things that's really cool is the first one that you're going to see here is most relevant. And what does that mean? Well, it means that based on, like if we delete this save image node and we drag it out, it automatically opens up the search box. And what you're going to see here is that it knows that you're looking for an image node. So right at the gate, it gives you the things you most likely will want to insert into your graph. So this is preview image, save image, VAE decode. It gives you all of the options. So it's an assist. It helps you kind of understand what's compatible. What should I do in the next step, et cetera, et cetera. Here you also have all your recent, let's clear our filter, all of your recent nodes that you just recently used, as the name suggests. We also have our essentials tab, which this is about to get a big makeover pretty soon. So it's going to be giving you a whole new UI, and we'll cover that later in an update. One thing you're going to see a lot when you're working in Comfy is it is a rapidly being developed open source application. So expect updates a lot. The engineers are constantly listening to the community. They're partnering with experts like me on how to make Comfy more specific to production. So I'm coming from VFX, and we're working to actively make it a really great backbone for the VFX industry. So you're going to see rapid iteration, changes, evolutions, and that's one of the really exciting things about this open source project. Another thing we have is blueprints, and blueprints are different node packs that here. Let's go ahead and hit crop 3x3 image. So what this is going to do is it's going to give you a subgraph, and subgraphs we'll talk all about later. But what this does, and let's open it up. A blueprint is a collection of nodes that you can use to do a variety of different tasks. Let's go back. Let's actually go back in there because there's a lot of them. Edge preserve. Let's do that. So again, this is another subgraph that we can use that does a specific task. So if you have built a workflow that you have settings that you like and you want to package them up and pass them around, well, blueprints is where it's at. Another thing I wanted to show you real quick too is when you first start off, you're going to have Nodes 2.0 beta is going to be turned off. So again, this is a rapidly developing space. So there's always new features. Some of them are going to roll out into beta. The Essentials tab will roll out into beta when it comes out. But one of the things I want to do right here too is let's enable Nodes 2.0 because it's a nice sneak preview of what Comfy is going to be looking like very, very soon. So let's go ahead and toggle that on. I encourage you to do the same. It was off by default because that's how it is when you first start up Comfy. So go ahead and enable that. Now, underneath nodes, now we're going to have the model library. And again, there are, I mean, you can kind of see with the scroll wheel, there's tons and tons and tons and tons of models that are on here. And these are, again, have all been curated and fine-tuned to work very stably on Comfy Cloud. But what's really cool is unlike nodes, we can actually import certain different models into our own cloud library. You can do that over here with the import button. So here you can paste a link, and currently only two types of URLs work for this, either a Civet AI one, so this is going to be great for finding LoRa's. We'll talk all about that later. You can paste that in right there, or new core models straight from Hugging Face. You can paste those links right here and then say continue. And there you go. It imports it into your own cloud, which is really, really cool. But there's tons of models to explore here. Um, don't get overwhelmed by this. It's just showing you how much the Comfy engineering team has put into cloud. So sometimes you feel limited with cloud because I can't have all my access to all my nodes and all this stuff. Well, I hope this kind of shows you you're not really that limited. Like pretty much everything that you could possibly want to do, you can do on Comfy Cloud. There's only just a few minor exceptions. So just keep that in mind. I could keep scrolling forever. Underneath here, we have workflows. So if you click here, this is going to be all of your different workflows. Again, you can bookmark any of your favorite ones that you really really like, and then they'll be appearing right here. You can search for individual workflows. That's totally fine. Very very normal. And you're going to see we have these folders. Now, how do we create these folders? There's no folder button. I'm going to show you a trick real quick. So if you go up here, let's go ahead and save, clicking on the Comfy icon, go File, Save As. Well, if we want to do this unsaved workflow, we can just click Confirm. And now that name, unsaved workflow, is going to be in our sidebar for our workflows for us to find later. But it can get very messy very quick. So why don't you try this? We're going to type test backslash unsaved workflow, hit Confirm. And let's go over to our models. And now you're going to see that we have a test folder, which is really, really cool. Now we have our unsaved workflow here. The only thing that is kind of a little bit limited, again, this is a rapidly developing open source project. Expect a little rough edges here and there. Once it's in this folder, it's kind of stuck in that folder. So you could save this, duplicate it, save it outside another folder, but there's no way to like click or drag or rename folders or anything. So make sure you choose your names very properly because those folders are going to live with you. You can obviously right click on any of these workflows and rename the workflow itself. But just keep that in mind when you're working with workflows. But this is going to be where you organize everything. There is a lot of work coming into this very, very soon. So, again, keep an eye out for those developments because folders are coming. They are coming. Now, underneath that, we have the apps folder and or the apps sidebar button. And this is going to be blank because we haven't made an app yet. Well, app mode is a very exciting mode for Comfy because, again, it's helping you get over that Comfy anxiety and also pass along these workflows to other artists that they may not need access to your whole node graph. They just want to do something. So remember how I said it's a really powerful backend with a really beautiful front end? Well, this is another way to make your very own front end. It's a very, very cool thing. So let's go ahead and build an app real quick. So all you do is click Build App. Let's click it one more time. And then it's going to be giving you a couple things. So first thing we have to do is choose our inputs. And one of the inputs I'm going to want is obviously our positive prompt and also our negative prompt. And it's going to automatically put those in those sidebars here. I check them in order because it's kind of a you can drag them around and rearrange them as you want, but it can sometimes get a little confusing if you have a whole bunch. So be specific with how you add them in order. Once you have them there, well, we can go in and hit again those three dots, hit rename, and we're going to call this positive prompt. And underneath here, let's go ahead and rename this to negative prompt. That's great. Now, let's see if we want any more inputs. I don't think we do. Maybe seeds are already set to random. I don't want anybody having to mess around with steps or how much guidance it keeps to the original prompt. We're going to keep all of those nice and defaulted, but I do want to maybe set the width and the height options. So once we're happy with all of our input selections, again, these are all the options that the user will be able to modify for their own generation. We're going to click Next. Now we're going to select our nodes that are output nodes. Automatically highlights all these things for you as a little suggestion. So keep that. It's trying to make it easy for you. So keep that in mind. So let's go ahead and click the save image. And when you do this, you actually can't rename these. So if you want a different name for any of these things, make sure you rename the node itself. That's kind of the best way. That's the workaround for that. Then we go to the preview button. And now this is a little preview of what our app looks like. Over in the sidebar, we have our positive prompt, negative prompt, and our width and our height. Here we can rename those again if we want. We don't have to step back. But once we're happy, we just click save. And you have a couple different options for when you pass this along. Do you want to open up in the node graph by default, or do you want to open up in the app by default? So you make your selections here. Now let's view our app. So what this allows you to do is you can now share this workflow. You can go back. Let's exit the app mode real quick, just kind of show you how this works. And we have this share button up here. If you click share, create a link, pass that link to your friend, and when they open it up, well, they'll open it up and they will see your app. It's a really cool way, once you're working in Comfy Cloud, to pass along your setups, including some of the base assets, to your friends for working. So let's go ahead and do this one more time. Let's change this up. Let's do beautiful scenery. I want to go to the mountains, so let's go to Mountain Lake. Beautiful scenery, Mountain Lake. And we're going to hit run. And it's going to queue our job. And then, boo bam. You now have a beautiful mountain lake right in front of you. Let's say we want to make this a little bit wider, right? 1920 by 1080. Let's go ahead and click run. It's going to do the exact same thing. And now we have a 1920 by 1080 image that's generated. Very, very fast. When you work with Comfy Cloud, it gives you access to really, really powerful GPUs. So it's going to be very, very quick for most of these workflows. Some of the more advanced ones, they might have to cook for a while. That's just the age of AI, right? But most of these run extremely, extremely fast. So now we can rerun this workflow. We can download this image. And again, this isn't very intimidating, right? App mode makes it very, very simple for you to pass along, no matter how complex the node graph is. We can build a really beautiful, easy front end to then pass along to our friends, to our team. You can build these applications for doing a variety of things, both big and small. So let's go ahead and exit app mode. You can edit it obviously right here. We can share it over here again in that drop down. Let's go ahead and exit out of here real quick. So we've gone through a variety of different things in the sidebar already. We've talked about our assets. So if you click here again, you'll see our mountain lake is all organized there. There's going to be a lot of work that's going to be done for the assets as well to organize them and all the things. So again, keep an eye out for that. We talked about the nodes. These are the building blocks that make up your workflows. And we've talked about the models, which are, think of these like different brains, right? Different people even, because they all have their own unique way you need to talk to them. They all see the world a little bit differently. So you have a huge library here of models to experiment with and mix and match with different nodes for a variety of different things. So really play around with these. These are a lot of fun. We've got our workflows, our own custom scripts, our JSONs that we can store here. We have our apps. We can see when we build an app, it'll all be right here. But then in the last one is templates. And these are going to be where you're going to find, again, a bunch of really curated workflows that are all ready to go with a nice example of how to use it. So when you're working with Comfy, honestly, I rarely will build a workflow from complete scratch, at least nowadays. When I first started, and we will do that, I will show you how to do that. When I first started, that was really how I thought we were going to have to always use Comfy. But really, it's about more like mixing recipes than anything. And the Comfy team is partnered with a variety of both internal engineers and creatives to generate these workflows, but also outside creatives to build their own workflows for a variety of things. And you're going to find them all here. There's really a wealth of models to explore that are featured in these workflows, different use cases. Really, it's all here. You can search for it right here. So you can go through and just, let's go product. And here we can now make, we have a couple of different workflows right here that are ready to go for maybe a contact sheet workflow. I'm working in a product design thing. I want to I have a base image, I have a product image. I'm going to make a whole bunch of images of that person holding that product. Well, you can just jump right in and use this. You're going to see too that a lot of these workflows are going to have a little partner logo is kind of how I think about them. So these are going to be using nodes that are API nodes to do a variety of different things. If they don't have that, well, that means it's going to be using an internal model. So this will be using an all internal model. If it has a little logo up here, that means it's going to be using an API node, a partner node. And those partner nodes will take credits. So make sure that your Comfy Cloud has credits. And let's show you how to do that real quick. So if you go up into your user icon over in the upper right hand corner and you click that down arrow, well, you're going to see all of your different account settings, including how many Comfy credits that you have. Thank you very much, Comfy, for all the credits. I'm using them a lot. And if you need any more, just click add credits and it'll add it to your account. You can also create new workspaces. So you can change your account settings, your workspace settings, manage your plan, check out plans, check out partner node pricing. Again, those API nodes, they all have different costs for how much credits are required. Some cost less, some cost a lot. Hello, Cdance. But those are all going to be listed here. If we hit workspace settings, it gives you, again, a whole variety of different ways. You can customize Comfy Cloud. So again, we've enabled Nodes 2.0 here. So it's going to remember all those things, your secrets, just different ways to modify Comfy. I'm not going to mess around with any of those because I want my Comfy to look like the vanilla Comfy. So it's nice and familiar for you as you're digging in. But that's where you can do all of those things. You can also find a variety of different help questions over here in the Help Center. You can find a list of all of the keyboard shortcuts, the view controls, again, all the things I'm talking about here. I'm giving you kind of the high level ones, but you can also go in and manage them. You can change them if you want. Again, Comfy Cloud gives you a lot of customization options. So get familiar with this. I keep these as default, but if you really want to change them and, and confuse your friends when you go to their Comfy and you're trying to move around and it's not working, well, feel free to mess around with it here. But that's all there. And again, we have our settings menu, all the same things we just saw in the drop down over there. So now that we're getting all comfortable and comfy, get used to that. I'm going to be saying that a lot. It's just kind of how it is. We've gone over the search function again. We have our main search node. We have all the different filters off to the side for the essential nodes, blueprints, which are basically just subgraphs that are curated. All of the partner nodes that we're talking about, all of the Comfy core nodes. We're going to be talking a lot about these. And also any extensions. So these are going to be custom packs that come along with Comfy that are from the outside community. So these are all going to be, again, curated. So there's a lot in the open source community. Some are more stable than others, and some are more useful than others. Again, it's really fun because everybody can experiment and try things out here. Well, these are all going to be the extensions on cloud are going to be the best of the best, the most stable, the most useful ones. And as you can see here by the scroll wheel, there's a lot of them. And if you hover over them, you get a little preview off to the side of each one. But just basically explore the search menu. I spend a lot of time in the search menu as a Comfy artist. But once you have kind of your favorites, well, you're just favorite them. They're all going to be right there. You're going to use these most often. So they're all right at top of the menu. But really think about the search menu as your command center. This is where, over time, this is where you're going to be spending a lot of it. You can just type exactly what you want, and this is where it all comes from. So it's really nice. It's geared towards, again, giving you those suggestions of what it thinks you want. So it's really helping you it's helping guide you throughout it because there's a lot of nodes in there. Now that we're again familiar now how to move around, what all the different sidebar knobs are, all the different things about Comfy. We're just scratching the surface. One of the things that I want to talk about here is how to organize your node graph. Because again, I've seen a lot of workflows in my time using Comfy Some of them are very confusing. Some of them are super straightforward. And coming from a visual effects background, I love a clean node graph, something that I can kind of, it's like a mind map. You can follow the logic from node to node as it flows one into the next. And that is really what the best node graphs look like. And there's a few different strategies that we can use for making our workflows really nice and organized. You can visualize the flow. Again, we're fighting the spaghetti, and a clean graph is a clean workflow with a clean graph is going to be much easier to read. It's going to be easier to share. It's going to be easier to debug. So we're going to be, as we're going through each one of these workflows, you're going to see me organize things. And the way I like to organize things is a few different ways. One of them is following everything in a two-axis rule set. So this is a standard studio process. So I like to go from left to right and top to bottom. So I do this for everything. That's just how my mind works with Comfy. There's a lot of different ways to organize your node graphs. This is just what I would suggest as you're starting. It really makes it the easiest to visualize each one of these workflows and how the nodes are all orchestrating together. So top to bottom, left to right. And the top to bottom part is also with the hierarchy, the order of operations. First, you're going to want to load in your models. Then you're going to want to load in your image, and having your output is going to always be at the bottom of your graph. So that's like your save image or save video. So what would that look like over here? Well, this is a good example of it's not really a complicated top to bottom one, but we are doing a left to right. And what we can do here is we're loading our models, we're loading our clip, and we're loading our text. But you can see that like we already have some spaghetti, right? We already have some issues with it being a little bit hard to visualize where all of the models are going. And I'm going to show you a strategy here for fighting this. But one of the basic ones is if we zoom in, you're going to see that your wires right here suddenly get a little dot. Let's go ahead and click that. And when you do, we can either add a node right there, or we can add a reroute. So let's go ahead and click that. And what does this do? Well, it allows you to bend that wire. It's cable management, right? So now we can just have one output, and we can click and drag that. We can do that into the clip, make another one. I like really nice right angles with all of my my nodes. Again, it just makes it feel more understandable for me. So that's what I would recommend you all do as well. But then there's some things where like it's bending around. So let's go ahead and click this over here. Sometimes it hides, so make sure that you kind of it's a little clunky, but I promise you this housekeeping is going to make your life in Comfy a lot better as you're learning. And we have this one right here. So let's go ahead and just hit that reroute and click the dot again and hit the reroute. And now you can see exactly where all of the nodes are going, how they're plugging in. We can go ahead and probably just not have that one right there because again, we want really nice right angles. Maybe it's a little OCD, but it's from years working in production. This is how I like to visualize a graph. And we're going from left to right, but that's just because this isn't a very complicated one. If we wanted to go top to bottom, for more complicated ones, you'll see it kind of do this stair step approach where you have your load checkpoint down, and then it steps into your clips, and then it steps into your case sampler, and it steps into your output. Again, top to bottom, left to right. Now you can read this a whole lot better. Now, one of my favorite nodes, if we go over to here, I was mentioning before, is the get and the set nodes. That is another tool for fighting the spaghetti. So what we can do over here is, this is pretty cool. So why don't we click and drag out here? Again, it's going to give us a filter option. So it's saying, oh, you're working with a model. Here's all of the outputs that are typically for models. Now, if we type in set node, it's not going to give us anything. So we want to kill that filter. And now we've got our set node. And what this allows you to do is basically make a container for storing the information coming from the model that you can then pass without wires wire free to a variety of different spots in your graph. So what this now you could just keep dragging this out and do it the traditional way, but that's no fun. So let's go ahead and hit the model, the constant right here, and we're just going to call this model. Now, if we go over here, see this little drop down? Well, this is another nice thing. Once I've set this, I can just collapse it, make it nice and organized, much, much smaller. And now we can go over here and let's get a Git node. We can just type in Git node, and there it is. Or we can go to our favorites, and we have our Git node right there. Let's go ahead and hit that drop down. And now this is going to give us all of the different set node variables that we've already applied. And I'm going to select model, and I'm going to plug that right into there. And let's go ahead and collapse that. So now look, I have essentially, I've just beamed the information from the model from here to over here. And you can have multiple ones of these. So instead of having all these wires going around, well, you can just copy that Git model. Say you have another K sampler, just plug it right in. All using the same model. It's a really nice way to organize things. So let's go ahead and do the same thing with VAE, set node. And let's just call this VAE. It's really nice. It automatically starts color coding things, which is I really appreciate. Let's go ahead and hit the Git node, and you can kind of see the process that we're going to go through here. And now we're going to plug that into the VAE knob. Let's go ahead and move this around, collapse it. I will typically sometimes stack all of my Git nodes underneath the VAE, but underneath the node that it's going into, but you can push it off to the side as well. Same thing for the clip. And now we can kill that and say set node. And we're going to call this clip. And we're going to move this down. And now Git node. And I think you guessed it. Let's go clip. And plug that right into that node right there. So now look at this. Wire free. We've now made basically a section where we can load our model. We can set all of our variables, and now we can beam those variables, that information, to the different nodes that need it. And we can make this a little bit more organized. So here, let's go ahead and follow the top to bottom rule. So I'm going to control and select these nodes, and we're going to move them down. You're going to see one bug that is currently out there that you'll notice is that the dot nodes don't come with us. That's okay. It's being worked on. It's going to be fine. So for this, when you do this, don't get frustrated. Just click a dot. And then it takes over the entire thing. Now, one thing I like to do is start organizing things using, well, there's a couple different ways. We can either collapse it into a subgraph, just like we were seeing with those blueprints, or we can make a frame around there. So let's go ahead and hit frame. Sometimes other applications call these backdrops. In Comfy, it's called frame. So I'm just going to call this all cap model. Here you can click your frame, and we can choose different color options if we want to organize things a little bit better. So now here I've loaded all my models. Here it's just one, so that's cool. And then it's it's a stable diffusion model. And then let's go ahead and just select all of these things. And then you can either, again, just click the button frame node, or you can hit Control G. And then this, let's call this image generation. So now you can see and organize these. Don't feel like you have to. I see a lot of workflows that are make all your nodes really, really close together. I always like to point out you have basically an infinite workspace here, an infinite node graph. So use the space. It makes it feel a lot more breathable. If you click on your frame over here, you're going to see that you have this resize button, just like you do with normal nodes. Click that, expand it, and move around. So everything is, again, nice and readable. Don't feel like you have to get it all in one tight space. A good workflow is not only a workflow that produces something really cool, it's also one that's super easy to read. So make sure that you allow it to breathe. It's going to make it a whole lot more readable. Whenever I was working in the studios, the mindset that I always have when I was opening up a workflow to evaluate it from an artist is if it's going to take you more than 10 seconds to understand it, we can probably simplify. We can probably organize it a lot better. So, good organization. It may feel like it's a waste of time when you first start in all this stuff, but I promise you, this is going to make Comfy a lot easier to debug, a lot less intimidating to jump into, and it's going to allow you to collaborate a whole lot better with all the different artists that are using this. So, if you're doing this solo, it's going to make your life easier. If you're working on a team, it's going to make your team's life easier. And speaking of organization, we've already seen it pop up a few times, but let's explore subgraphs real quick. So subgraphs are really cool, obviously, because you can take a complex node graph that, again, would be very intimidating to open it up and not very understandable. Well, now you can collapse it into one single new block, its own node. So you can select your graph, you can convert it to a subgraph, you can rename it. You can rename the ports. I'll show you how to do all that. It's a really nice way to simplify graphs both for you and for your team. So let's do that over here. We can just go ahead and select all of our image generation block right here. And why don't we go ahead and just click convert to subgraph. And what this does right away is, well, it makes it a lot smaller. That's for sure. But one thing it does as well is it tries to intelligently give you the things it thinks you're going to want. So your negative prompt, your positive prompt, control over the seed. This is going to be the base noise field that gets put on top of your latent image. This is how AI images work. They denoise the image out of latent space into what we see as a beautiful image. Well, that's all being driven by a seed and just a cloud pattern. Think of it. More on that later. But also then like also your output. What is your file name prefix, right? So each one of these things is called a widget. And if we select our node, we can go through here and we can edit those widgets as well as change the color. Let me make this a blue subgraph, and we'll click here. And now here it opens up this sidebar, and we can click and drag these things. So shown on node. So we have this is going to give us a preview image. I want that at the bottom. I don't want to see this at the top. So let's go ahead and drag this to the bottom. I want my positive prompt also to be at the top because this is what I want to see. It's a little bit odd to have a negative at the top. So you can go ahead and just organize it that way. Maybe I don't want the seed. Well, I can just hide it. Just click that eyeball and hide. And then it's going to move that down into these hidden nested parameters. So one thing I do want to give them the ability to do is to change the width and the height. I want them to have access in this subgraph to how to output these things. So that's where we're going to be giving it there. And then we have the save image preview. Now let's move this back down a little bit. And yeah, we're going to have our save image name right there. You can go through here and rename things as well. So file name prefix is a little bit weird. So let's just rename this to file name. And now file name. There you go. Width and height, you can do all of these things. Speaking of the settings, you can set the default node state. So if you want this graph to always be bypassed, which is another form of it's like ignore this. Don't actually execute these things. So bypass, you got mute. They're basically the same thing. Honestly, they're slightly different, but don't get too over. Don't get. We're not going to dive into that too much because really, what you're always going to be doing is just bypassing. And this is just like disabling a node. Still going to allow information to pass through it, but it's going to just ignore all the inputs. It's not going to do anything. We can also change our node colors. We can pin this, which means we can't drag it around anymore. I like to drag my nodes, so we're going to keep that there. And then what else we got? Yeah, there you go. Okay, so let's go ahead and collapse this sidebar. And again, this sidebar is actually very interesting because I think you just noticed this, that if we toggle our properties panel, right here, it's based on whatever you're focused on. So if I have this subgraph, well, it's going to give me all of my options for this subgraph. If we click on the actual canvas over here, well, now it's going to open up all of my global settings. It's going to try to, it's going to give me a list of all of my nodes that are in there. So it's going to give you information about your graph. So this is another version of a command center off to the side, but it's just based on focus. Now let's unbypass this subgraph because we want to use it. You can do that by clicking Control and B. B for bypass. And let's go ahead and now jump into this. So we can enter the subgraph down here at the bottom. You can also unpack this subgraph if you don't want it by just clicking up here. Let's go ahead and jump in here because one of the things I want to do is actually, I don't want this save node in here. Let's go ahead and rewire this a little bit. So I'm going to disable this save node, and we automatically have this output knob as name. So if we, again, let's click on our unsaved workflow up here. This is going to jump us out of the subgraph. You're going to see now we have this image output. So what if we want to rename this, right? Let's go ahead and enter in there. And if you right click, you can just rename this slot. And we're just going to say output. That's a little bit clearer to me. Click, nope. Rename slot, output, hit enter. There we go. Let's go back out to the save out. Now it's rename output. So let's go ahead and click here. And again, the search button pops up, the search box, and it's going to give us your suggestion. It's going to try to give you a suggestion of what you want to use. So here, let's go ahead and use a preview image node. Select that. So expand this. And a preview image is just going to preview it. It's not going to save that asset down. So I actually kind of like to use a preview node quite often because, again, a lot of the times just kind of experimenting and seeing what output you're going to get. So you can, let's go ahead and click again that play button just on this guy. We're going to execute it. It's going to pull in all of our model information over here, inject it into the subgraph, and then it's going to generate a mountain lake. This looks very Bob Rossi. But here you can go through here and you can download this image by clicking the download. And now you can add this to your assets. So you can also right click and you can say the same thing. We can copy the image even if you just want to kind of save in your local memory over here. But here you also have options for edit or mask image. And there's some different secondary functions that you can, some different model packs that you can use to isolate areas. So you can click and drag in here and say if you just wanted to change this island. Well, now we can click and drag over here, click save. It's going to save that mask. It's going to punch a hole through this image. And now that is stored right there. So now when we save this and we pump it into an in-painting workflow, if we want to replace that section, right, it's going to isolate it just to there. And you can do all this with just this preview image node. So I typically like the preview image instead of the save image, unless my workflow is finalized and it's ready to go. But that's subgraphs. So it's just kind of the idea of that if your workflow is getting messy and it's getting too complicated and you got to pass it off, well, now you can kind of make it into its own little tool and group it together in these subgraphs and configure all the knobs and everything. Again, very powerful backend system. You can have super complex node graphs that are, have all sorts of different spaghetti nodes all over the place and just not readable by humans. Well, you can group it all together in a nice subgraph, sweep it under the rug, and pass it to your friends and make it a lot easier. So you got app mode. You also have subgraphs. These are both really good tools, all in that same mindset. So we've explored a variety of different ways to work with these workflows now, right? We've got templates, blueprints, and workflows. And then, obviously these words, they can be used interchangeably online. You're going to see a lot of people kind of treating them like the same thing, but they're different. And that's kind of your cheat code for learning from the community here. Because templates are full ready-made workflows for one task. You just open it, you run it, and you see the whole workflow end to end. So this is best for instant results. You can just search for a bunch of different already vetted, really nice, solid templates over on the side and treat them kind of like building blocks to make your own, really whatever you want. And then you've got a blueprint. So this is kind of the medium option. This is like templates light. And it's a small bundle of nodes that solve like one specific problem. So these are now the building blocks of that template. So you drop them in, you wire them up. They're like just bigger versions of packed nodes. And then you've got workflows. So these are your JSON subgraphs. This is yours. This is portable, it's shareable, and this is your basic working file. That's your workflow. So that's the difference between each one of the different types of modalities of your workflows. And we're going to be using a variety of these different things throughout this course. But it's all the same system, just three different scales, right? And think of these like artifacts. And every Comfy artifact is one of these three things. And you either have your nodes, which I think of them as like the bricks. You've got the blueprints, which are the it's the base assemblage of those bricks, those nodes. A small bundle does one thing, right? And then the full builds, the full tower, the big Lego pirate ship that we all that we all really coveted as a kid. That's your template. That's where it all comes together. It's the full working build. So you just open it, run it, or break it. That's one of the best ways to learn all these things too. Is we're going to be exploring that as well, debugging these workflows down the road. But that's a good mindset to think about and really leverage the hub. The community library for Comfy workflows is huge. You have tons of templates, blueprints from the Comfy team, full workflows. They're all built by people, really smart artists that have already done the hard work. They've already debugged them. So they're a really good starting point to jump into Comfy. But don't think of them as you can't do anything with them. They're the final result, right? You can mix and match. They're really good starting recipes of what you can build on top of. So that's what I recommend you do as you start jumping into these. Again, we will do a full no graph from scratch, but when you're first starting, don't start cold, right? Use the templates, blueprints, use the workflows that all these really smart people have built and already have made sure work really great, and use those as your starting point. And it says steal smart here. It's not stealing, it's borrowing. It's building on top of somebody else's workflow and seeing what it does, rip it apart, remixing it, seeing how you can modify it to your own use case. It's not about copying it. It's about getting a head start. So the best learners, honestly, like I don't build from scratch. I know a lot of people just don't build from scratch. And as you're getting into all this stuff, do yourself a favor. Don't build from scratch either. It's going to make it a lot less intimidating to jump in. And speaking about the amazing community behind Comfy, do yourself a favor too and go and check out beyond just the templates. There's also a whole hub. And if you go to comfy.org, go over to the community, click Comfy Hub, you're going to see all of the workflows that you're going to see in the template section. Well, they all kind of start coming from the Comfy Hub. It's where you're going to be able to find all of the latest and greatest best workflows, and also from top creators. So if we click on the top creators, you're going to see that there's a lot of really smart artists that are building workflows with really cool outputs. Really great. You can get a lot of inspiration from here. Hey, here's me. So there's a whole lot of really great stuff to explore, both in the templates and also the Comfy Hub. And this is just a great place to learn by inspecting, right? Open up these graphs. If you click on here, let's do one of mine. This was a C dance one. If you click here, usually they come with a nice, mine will come with a nice video. A lot of people do this as well. But you can go here and just click on Try on Comfy Cloud. And it's going to take all of the assets that you want to use for this, bring it into your own Comfy Cloud, load it up, and you're going to be ready to go. So it's a very cool way to share workflows and curate them as well. So again, it's all about getting those starting points, getting ahead as you're working in it. That's going to make your life in Comfy uh, just so much easier. Now, speaking of assets, when you load any one of those workflows, it's going to load all your assets. Now, what are assets? Well, pretty much everything that lives in Comfy is an asset. So this can be an image, this can be a model, which is our checkpoints. These are the big brains that do all of the heavy lifting, all the work. This is Stable Diffusion. This is Flux. Uh, all like is constantly evolving. There's always new models. Z image, all of those great ones. So those are all of your models, your safe tensors. Another form of safe tensor is a LoRa. This is also a type of asset. This is a kind of think of it like a mini model. This goes right on top of that base model. It has to be compatible with it, so it has to speak the same language, and that just means that uh, when the uh, when the lore was being trained, well, it was being based on maybe stable diffusion, or maybe it was based on flux. So your loras have to kind of hook together with its compatible base model. But what this allows you to do is you can then apply a bunch of different custom styles. So, say your art department has been generating a whole bunch of images for your show. Well, you can take all those images, you can train a mini model, a style LoRa. There's some LoRa training applications in Comfy as well as outside of Comfy. Really, just whatever you want to explore. We'll talk about that much more down the road. But LoRa's are really great because they're tiny little models. Instead of uh, multiple gigabytes of files, sometimes 200, 300 gigabytes for some of these base model safe tensors. Well, LoRa's are much smaller, hundreds of megabytes. So they write right on top, and they act like an injector, a style injector. More information for the model to use to generate images, and it's another way to guide it. It guides all of the model to generate images and video. Those are another form of asset inside of Comfy. So at every output, that's what this is being run. It Comfy bakes the workflow JSON into that PNG itself, which is also a great way to pass your workflow, which is also another form of asset along with your images. And it's a really nice way to work. Video, it doesn't pack that in just because of the nature of way videos are. So one thing I like to do, honestly, is I will generate a style frame, a hero frame, a first frame of my video, and then generate the video as well. So then if I want to pass along that hero frame, if you want to publish it, well, they just grab that image, drag it in. Now they have everything they need to generate that video as well. It's a cool little trick. But workflows, these are just plain text graphs. You can open them in any editor. You can share with anyone. It's actually surprisingly human readable. So why don't we go ahead and check out what a JSON file actually looks like? So why don't we click here? Let's go ahead and export. We can save it, and obviously it would be right here, and then we can't really access it under the hood. But if you want to actually see the JSON, you're going to file and export. There's a couple different flavors. One of them is the API version. And the API means that the JSON that's being exported doesn't contain any of the layout instructions, where all the nodes go. Just kind of the API is more for backend applications to use. So it doesn't really care how everything's laid out. It can be a complete mess. It just cares about how the file flows and what the output is. So that's the export. But if we just do the base export, say save workflow, confirm, and then let's go ahead and just store it right here in my downloads folder. JSON will say unsaved workflow. Click save. All right, let's go ahead and open up that file location. And if we right click here, open with, you can open it with any code editor you want. Also, I like Notepad++. Click here. And this is the JSON. This is what your workflow is. It is just a long text file that contains all of the values, all of the node names, everything. It's all right here, including location data, how it's organized. It's very, very simple, plain text that then generates, when you open it, this graph that we've just made right here. So that's really all it is. And the way I want you to think about the workflow is a pipe. It's a way of processing data between two folders. You've got your input folder, which is your image or your text prompt, your cue for what you want to generate. The graph then reads that. It then does all of the work, and then it outputs what you want. So all of those assets then land in your output folder. And when you're working with Comfy Desktop, what you're going to notice is on your desktop, you have two folders, an input folder and an output folder. So again, the workflow is the pipe that processes those things between those two. So as we jump further into this course and these modules that are going to go after this, we're going to expose you to a lot of different nodes. But the way I want you to think of it, the mental map that I want you to have, because there's hundreds of nodes Probably one day there's going to be thousands. But they're all really organized into kind of seven main groups, same types of jobs that they do. And once you name the layer of the node that it belongs to, well, the whole library kind of stops being so intimidating and overwhelming. You can kind of see how it's organized. And those seven layers are generation core. You have your image input output, your IO. You've got your control nodes, your masking nodes, pipeline, training, modality, and then everything else, etc. So generation core, this is going to be your load checkpoints, loading your model, your clip text, inputting your prompts, that empty latent image, the size of your canvas, the K sampler, the decoding of that canvas and your clip text and your load checkpoint into a latent image, and then the VAE decode, which then takes that latent image and then decodes it down into viewable RGB space. So this is the generation right here, right? Then you have your image IO nodes, load, save, encode, resize. Those are all here that are processing your images, your operations, your inputs and your outputs. So that's your VAE decode we talked about. The resize node. This is a great node, making sure some models will require the inputs to be a specific size based on what they were trained on. So this gives you, again, control over the process of data as it flows through the graph. Image from batch, you can extract maybe a single frame from a video. Image to batch is a great one for that as well. There's a whole bunch of them, but these are top three that I think we're going to use quite a lot. Then you've got your control nodes. Those are your conditioning nodes, your concatenation nodes. Weird word, I know. We'll talk about that later. Just put that in the notes. We'll TBD. And then you have your control nets. So these are where you inject the structure and intent. You're telling the model really what you want to focus on a lot: the pose, the edge, the composition of your image. That's where all the control nodes come from for standard models. Then you have some of these new types of models, these new generation core models that are completely different flavors. They're image editing models. They don't require control nodes. Well, they get all of their control from the clip text, the prompt that you give it. But again, it's all kind of the same processing. Then you have your masking nodes. So masks are just black and white data, not really selections. You generate a mask using the image and mask. You can then grow the mask, make it bigger. You can feather it off, which makes it softer. You can do a whole bunch of different things. And this allows you to just focus on one section of your image, not the whole thing. Then you've got your pipeline nodes. Well, those are my favorite, of course, the get and the set nodes. They allow you to organize your graph in a really nice way and kind of systematize the way the data is being processed. Then you've got your training nodes. This is right now the train LoRa node. Again, we'll focus on this in an upcoming module as we're learning. But this allows you to, right in Comfy, train your own LoRa. Again, there's outside services that are great as well for very, very large data sets, but Comfy has that ability as well, and we'll explore that in a bit. Then you've got your modality. So modality, fancy word. What does it mean? Well, it means what you ship. So image, video, maybe both at the same time. We were talking about saving the image and the video. Those are your different outputs. So that's your modality. And then everything else, that's honestly the get and set nodes. Those are custom nodes as well. So this allows you to the community to contribute to Comfy, and again, really customize it to their specific use case, their specific discipline. It's the best thing about Comfy is how open source it is. And again, Comfy Desktop gives you access to all of it, but it's the Wild West. Be prepared to break it. It will break your Comfy. But if you're working in cloud, it's already been done for you. And again, as we saw, this is really just kind of 5 nodes making one image. We saw that in the base graph, right? We have our load checkpoint, got our clip text positive, clip text negative, empty latent K sampler, VA decode save image. Every text to image workflow is basically built on top of these 5 base nodes. And this is kind of the skeleton that everything's based on. Everything else is just kind of a variation of this. So as we're wrapping up, I want you to have this thought in your head and maybe even just tape it to your monitor, like I'm saying here. But the model proposes, but the artist disposes. That means that the model gives you its own suggestion. It's a collaborator. It's going to give you its best interpretation of what it thinks that you want. But the artist is always at the core in the driving seat. You need to drive every decision in these workflows, and every decision one after the other. It's basically all these nodes are basically just decisions that you are making to process the data from the start to the end. And now that we're at the end of this introductory module, I want you to take a second to do a little exercise real quick. I want you to make a blank graph, and I want you to place 3 nodes only by typing using your search button. So double click on the canvas, type to filter or take the filter off, and then place those 3 nodes. Then I want you to also go over and load a template from the template section or Comfy Hub. Browse, pick something that looks interesting. I want you to start having fun right out of the gate here because we're going to dive deep. But when you're working in Comfy, it's a lot of fun. So I want to make sure you don't get so overwhelmed with all of the node names and everything to forget to just have fun with these things because there's a lot. Don't worry about editing it or modifying it. Just go in and just kind of see what works and go through and just kind of it's going to start getting your mind going. And maybe go in and check out the different templates and blueprints. So find a blueprint section and replace it with a different blueprint that kind of does the same job. Rerun those 2 things, compare, right? And then save your file as a JSON file. Do that file export, and also drag and drop your image into your graph outside. Pass along that embedded JSON in there. Share a workflow with your friends using that share button. So that's what I want you all to do as we prep for module 2. But I hope now you're feeling a lot more confident. That Comfy's not that intimidating. You can jump in. It's a lot of fun to explore. It's a very complex program that has some serious professional applications to it. It's not just about generating social videos or thumbnails for YouTubes or things like that. It can be, but it's also so much more at the same time. Again, it's a really powerful back end with a really beautiful front end that has a lot of capabilities that we're only scratching the surface on. So thank you for joining me throughout module 1. Go outside, take a walk, again, play around with all these hubs, all these templates that are in the hub, and I'll see you back here for module 2.